One day, I hope to have a career in TV, radio, or enhance my digital presence to promote the connection between how food is produced in the UK and how to make a tasty meal. I'm so excited to have BBC TV presenter Chris Bavin on this podcast episode, who you'll know from BBC's Eat Well for Less and the Channel 4 programme Aldi's Next Best Thing. We'll talk about how Chris got into showbiz, what he cooks with his children, and my seasonal ingredient includes Brussels sprouts, which are not just for Christmas. Let's go! Hello, welcome to the Countryside Kitchen Meets, a food and farming podcast. I'm Milly Fyfe, your host. I'm a mum of two, farmer's wife, food producer and passionate about flying the flag for British food and farming. Today we'll be chatting to BBC presenter Chris Bavin, who you may well know from the popular programme Eat Well for Less. Then I've got a few time-saving hacks when it comes to mealtime preparation and some recipes to share too, meaning you can juggle family life with the children and cook a tasty, nutritious meal too. Okay, let me introduce you to my guest. Since 2013, Chris Bavin has co-presented Eat Well for Less alongside Greg Wallace, a factual BBC One show that helps families across the UK reduce their shopping budgets without compromising on quality. More recently, Chris has worked alongside Anita Rani and Julie Ashfield presenting Channel 4's Aldi's Next Best Thing. He was on my telly the other day. Chris has a background in the fresh produce industry, importing and selling to the wholesale markets across the UK, and is married and has 3 children. I'm wondering how he fits it all in. So without further ado, let's talk to Chris Bavin. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well indeed.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Firstly, tell me, how do you fit it all in? Because you're a working dad with 3 young children and you're on my telly all the time. How do you do it?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's a bit of a misconception as to how sort of busy we are, because obviously don't know when things were filmed or how long they take to film. And I'm sure from the outside, it always looks like we are busy than we are. Life is, there is no getting away from it. 3 sort of children, 10 and under, work different things, but I think this is true of people, parents or people without children. Life is easy. We try and do a lot, don't we? So it's I think everybody's in a similar sort of
spinning the plates. That's what I always say. Just keep on doing what you do, and just I think everyone. I don't know about everyone, but I feel like I'm winging it in life, just doing what I can.
I think we all feel a bit like that, don't we? And it's something that we probably have to try and to terms with, because things are difficult and things are getting harder. But it's about coming away from that mindset. I'm failing, or other people are succeeding, and everybody's got their stuff together and haven't, and all of those. And we've all had, thoughts like that. And I think social media is a big part to play in that. That you're constantly seeing everybody's show or highlights reel or the best, and everyone's life can be condensed into magical moments or memes or pictures or videos or whatever. But most don't share the challenges or the tough times or whatever. Self included. I only put positive stuff. I social media for work things. I put positive work-related things on there for the part. So if you were looking at my social media, you could think things fine with him. He's doing this. He was here, but you don't put, other bits. So I think we're all guilty of that. But I think, and it's fine. That is, I think we just have to be aware of when we're watching those things, seeing those things, that we have to be aware that is just a snapshot.
Yeah.
just a small part of
Oh,
something.
definitely. It's so easy to look online and compare yourself. And I'm also probably very guilty of that. And you beat yourself up. And I think I'm a firm believer, or I try and promote real life, rather than anything with filters and making it look like, staged and what have you, because I do. And when I do some of my videos as well, I need to do a bloopers type thing, because it's so funny, like all the things that actually happen in order to get the finished product. It's kind of, I'm sure you've probably got loads of those when you've been doing some film work, all the mistakes and things. And like you say, when I see you on the screen, it's very polished, isn't it? But in order to get that, there's a lot of work that goes into that behind the scenes, and long hours and away from your family, and doing perhaps it sort of takes your time away from other things that you do want to do. But tell me a bit about your backstory. How did you get into TV and food related journalism?
So I started selling flowers, importing flowers and selling to the wholesale markets. Then I moved into juice, fruit and veg, doing a sort of thing, supplying the markets. Then in 2009, we opened a shop called The Naked Grocer. So it was all, zero packaging, no plastic, that sort of thing, which did quite well, not without its challenge, but we won some awards for that, which was lovely. And then through that, a production company phoned me up, completely expected, and said, have you ever considered doing television? Which I have ever considered it. I think if you ask children now, they might say, I want to be a YouTuber or an influencer or a vlogger or whatever. But, for me, it had never sort of crossed my mind. Didn't seem that would be something that someone like me would have been able. Anyway, we ended up like a sort of taster show, and then that sort of then into Eat Well for Less, and that was probably 9 odd years ago now. Since then, I've done sort of various shows, primarily on food and food consumer issues. Some horticulture as well. I do Chelsea Flower Show and Britain in Bloom and some other sort of more horticultural shows, but it has been around food and consumer issues. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a wonderful job that I'm very grateful for and enjoy immensely.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you do have a lot of fun on it as well. I mean, having had a couple of film crews here on the odd time for like BBC Country File, and I've been on telly a couple of times. And I did Bargain Hunt, and won big, and then I did a TV series about 10 years ago, and that was called Food, Glorious Food, and I think they only did one series that was on ITV.
Yes,
but just the time it takes to actually produce a show, it's a lot longer. For a 2-minute snippet could take all day or longer, can't it? It's just incredible. Yeah. We sort of came to connect through the National Federation of Young Farmers through their homegrown campaign. How did you first get involved with the National Young Farmers organisation?
So I was doing a food show, hosting a food stage at the Three Counties show, and National Young Farmers were doing a cooking competition, and they asked me if I'd go at the end of the day. So I went across. I was blown away. I mean, these guys were cooking on camping stoves, and they were turning out some really, really amazing dishes. So I was impressed. Got to speak to the young farmers and spend some time with them, and then they asked me talk at the end, and then sort of so came through that really, and then I've just recently judged another cooking competition for them, and then I was a guest on a webinar that they held recently, which I believe you were at, and but I think it's really important. I mean, British farming has always been important, but feels like it's more and more important, with whether it be through instability or volatile exchange rates or climate challenges or a whole host of reasons. The status quo food is being challenged all the time, and I think we make sure that we're in as strong a position to make sure that we feed ourselves as much as possible. The way we can do that is by supporting British growers and farmers and the British agriculture industry, because we would be in a real. We've seen huge delay in and out of ports. We're seeing huge rises in transport rates and freight rates. Exchange rates are very weak pounds, other currencies. All of these work towards import food being less reliable and more expensive. And this is going for a long time, but it feels like we're getting to a point where it's becoming more and more important, urgent, in fact. So yes, I'm a huge fan of farmers, full stop, and obviously, young farmers are the future of farming. Yeah. So it makes sense that should support them as well, because they are going to be taking the mantle and providing our food security for the next.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. It's helping them to create or carve their career, or get form a pathway within the food and farming industry, whether that be taking over their own farm from their family, or from taking or looking at allied industries, whether that be working in policy making, in marketing. There's so many diverse opportunities within science, technology, education, environment, maths, that engineering and maths, I should say. But agriculture is, I don't know, again, working in agriculture, you kind of feel like it's always overlooked. But all of a sudden there's been a bit of a step change, and it's now quite sexy. And I don't know, again, whether that's social media that's playing that part. But we have to be our own ambassadors for the industry. And with food security being such a worry moving forward, looking at sustainability, looking at self-sufficiency, looking at how we can produce food without or working in conjunction with the environment, with nature, and looking at how we can do that so that obviously we can put food on the shelves. And there's been issues of late with the egg supply, and that's been a huge worry. I mean, we sell a few eggs at the gate, we've got a few hens and what have you, but people can't get enough of them. And I know when you go in the supermarket, there's empty shelves at the moment, and that's a lot of that is the impact of the fuel prices, of commodity prices, and the war in Ukraine and things like that. And so there's so many different pressures. But I think with consumers wanting to know more about where their food comes from, looking at the provenance, I mean, that's something that, it is what I'm all about. And when I interview people, that's what I'm trying to get across really, is the amazing things that are happening on our doorstep, and then how you can kind of go out and buy those ingredients and then look at making a meal for the family. And I know obviously one of the shows that you've been very much involved with is looking at how to feed a family well for less, because the bugbear that I always have is when you turn on the telly and watch some of the chefy programs, they're not necessarily accessible to many people, because one minute you have got to go and buy a crab and then a bottle of Madeira and stuff like that, and it's quite aspirational, whereas I'm more about bung some pasta and just get a cheap cut of meat and get your slow cooker going and stuff like that. So it's that's kind of what I'm about, and hopefully I think you are too.
Yeah, no, I think there's a time for sort of fine dining. Look, good, wholesome, hearty, especially now we're coming into the winter. Just nutritious home cooked food, which again is it's very difficult because there's many levels within food and affordability of food, and it's we all advocate cooking scratch as much as you can, using whole ingredient, but that isn't always a possibility for everybody. That does require a level of knowledge. It requires an amount of equipment or and also we take for granted the having some stuff in your kitchen already. I'm going on I'm really sort of learning and being educated about food and the challenges people face, and it's really hard because on the one hand you go, look, cooking from scratch the best thing. It's really easy, which it's more effective again, which it is, and it is better for you, which it is, but there are restrictions that prohibit or prevent people from being able to do that. And we're in a situation in the where with the least money pay the most for their food, which is pretty bonkers. And well, it's true, because if you have a mode of transport, you have a bit of, and cash flow isn't, you're feeling the pinch. But if you have access to money, then you can save money, by getting in the car, a different supermarket, buying in bulk, buying larger packs of something, bring the unit price or the kilo price down. But if you don't have that, if I think about convenience store, if I had to do my weekly in my convenience store, it'll cost 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% more. It's all small because it's, by its nature, it is a convenient. So it's that small bag of brand pasta, it's that small bottle of branded ketchup, it's that small, a tin of branded beans or whatever it might be, and they're much expensive than the supermarket labels. If that's the only place that you want to do your shopping, then you invariably pay a lot. But yeah, anyway, going back to the point, cooking, I think eating, if you want to save money, if you want to try and eat budget as much as possible, British veg is some of the cheapest thing you can buy, and then if you can buy with a cheap carbohydrate, whether that be a potato, a pasta, or whatever, you can eat, very economically, but it does require a little bit of sort of knowledge and some equipment potentially. But there's lots of interesting ways. Mashed potato in the microwave for the first time the other day. A bit skeptical, I must admit, but actually fine, So and the difference in cost was, I think on the hob it would cost around 30 pence to do, and it's 6 or 7 pence in the microwave.
It's amazing, isn't it? The microwave seems to be, there's a lot of talk about like these air fryers. I haven't got one, but actually microwave cooking is very, very cheap. And when I first had the kids, I got into cooking mashed potato in a microwave. You can get like the little frozen nuggets in a bag. And to start off with, I was like, I feel really ashamed for doing this, but actually I got them and they're brilliant. And it's just so quick, easy and cheap. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm an absolute convert to the microwave. What are you working on at the moment? Because obviously you've been doing the Audi TV program, which has been on air over the autumn. What's coming up for you?
A few exciting projects in the pipeline. I think we got a new book this year. It'll be my third cookbook. Got Good Food Sort Out and Fake Away. So I think a new book is going to happen this year. And then, some more exciting TV projects coming up in the spring.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'll watch this space. I'll be eagle-eyed on your social media to see what comes out next. That's for sure. You're obviously always working on the kind of food consumer type projects. What do you perceive will be the food trends in 2023? I mean, we're sort of getting into the year now. Is there something, you talk about fakeaways, making takeaways from scratch at home? Is that, is it going to be more of that, do you think?
I think it's a bit of, I think, again, there's ways, lots of different elements in play once. So on the one hand, people are still going to be looking at energy cooking. That will remain people's priorities. Trying to reduce that gas and electric is people's prime objective. Then absolutely, when you're looking to tighten your belt and reduce your spend, eating out and takeaways are one of the first things. They're the low fruit. They're certainly very quick, easy win that you don't necessarily have to miss. So I think that's replicating the food cooked out of the home will continue to play a big part. But then also it's going to be a bit of celebratory sort of food wanted in the home. I think that sort of feeding or sharing plans and making, because if when times are hard, people do want a release from that. They still want to have those treats and rewards, but done in a more economical way. I think maybe you might see more home entertaining. So I think, that sort of dine home and inviting people round, that probably will play a part, as opposed to, obviously didn't have restaurants available to us for the 2 years of COVID or so on and off. So people stopped that. I think when they reopened, I think were very excited to back out and go to the restaurants and see people, and all of those delayed or postponed birthdays or anniversaries or togethers and all of those things. I think, but obviously now, as we go through a slightly tougher time economically, I think maybe people will start to go back to that entertaining, which is fine as well. But I think it's great, cooking and inviting people around and sharing your food with people is something quite magical. So I think there'll be but low energy cooking, I think, something that's gonna continue to resonate with people.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good to know, because I think that will really help a lot of people in terms of how they position themselves and what recipes they share, and what we promote moving forward, because it's all very well when you just say, oh, just do this, do that, what have you, but actually just being mindful of what people have got in their pocket, and being able to prepare a meal without sapping the resources and things. I think that sounds really, really interesting. I'm definitely gonna be mindful of that, and I hope listeners at home probably will be too. But is there any surprises, or is there anything that surprises you about people's ability to cook from scratch or work to a budget? You've obviously been into people's homes, and the real sort of premise of Eat Well for Less is you go and look in their cupboards, and they've got all these name brands and everything, and you do a lot of the swaps and things. I mean, has there been a few surprises along the way in terms of that, or is that kind of the researchers have done so much beforehand that when you get there you kind of know what you've got to do?
No, I don't think there's surprises. I think family is unique in some of the challenges they face, but there's lots of common challenges. And is it we've stopped teaching children to cook, and if you stop teaching to be able to do something, then you can't surprise when they come out not being able to, exactly the thing would happen if we stopped reading in school. If you stop teaching kids to read at school, you couldn't be surprised when a child came out being unable to read. So and this whole industry, that there's been a whole boom in this convenience food industry, and people just if you haven't been shown how to do something, can't be expected to be it. And I think that's where we are cooking. On the one hand, people know more about food than they ever have, and then on the other hand, actually we're becoming more and more removed from it. Shame. I mean, if I think back when we had the shop, the sort of more experienced customers would come in, slightly the generation, and they know when coming into season and when they'd say, "Oh, Jersey Royals should be starting next week or whatever," or is got any rhubarb that should have started, or the pickling onions or whatever it might be. They were really aware of what in season and when, sort those things out as well. I think we are being distanced from our food ingredients a little bit, just by, I suppose, by that sort of everything is available all the time, and you need to know where it's more what's in season, because you can buy strawberries all year or whatever it might be. So I think on the one hand, we are being more interested in food. You can see that every time on your TV there's programs about cooking or food or whatever, but then by the same token, we're also not as noble or as connected to the food as
I mean, that's a really important point you raise, actually, because I mean, well, when I was at school, we did home economics, but I don't, it's not a priority, I guess, in schools, and that's a real shame. And having young children myself, like, we grow a lot of veg at home, we're obviously farmers ourselves, so we watch and see the whole supply chain. So for us, it's kind of, it's what we've always done, if you know what I mean. And but it's surprise, and it's something that I would like to try and make a difference on. And I know you are already, and together collectively with lots of people, just being able to just showcase the simplest of things and can all really help make a difference. And it's a huge passion of, I think we've got that shared passion in talking about food and showing people what can be done. But education is such a key area, and it hadn't really was on my radar in that respect, but it is, the kids are at school now, and I don't think they'll get the opportunity to cook, because I don't think the schools necessarily have the either the funding or the staff or the resource. I really don't know, but hopefully there'll be new ways in which children can access information and be able to learn. But it's gosh, I hope they carry on reading in school, that's for sure, because I'm just my eldest has just started school, and he's just starting to learn to read, and it's so lovely. And so to be able to teach children to cook as well, I mean, in my turn, just chuck in eggs, and I mean, it goes everywhere, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it? So let's talk a little bit about cooking then, Chris. What do you enjoy cooking and eating at home? Are there any sort of recipes or meals that you'll go to with the family?
There's a few. I mean, I enjoy cooking all different sort of types of food and different cuisines. I try and cook with as much as I can. Like you say, great fun, but obviously slightly more messy. But they love it. I think all kids engage really well, really positively. So we'll do a variety of things. A couple of things probably on rotation in our house. A couple of curry, a really nice dal, lentil dal, and a chicken tikka that the boys really love. They love cat curry. They quite like sort of South Asian food. And Japanese food and different like that. Oldest is obsessed with sushi, so we make sushi not weekly basis, and that doesn't be expensive. Actually, you could do it just with some sushi rice and a pepper and a cucumber. You can be as extravagant as you want, but it could also be affordable, actually, and very accessible. A box of sushi rice, I think, is £1 or £2. Buy those mats for about £1. You've bought them, you can forever, and then you just need a bit of either rice wine vinegar or any actually vinegar, and it's always pretty accessible. We like to do that. That's fun. But we'll cook a whole host of different things, and I'm if we have time, obviously, with work and the kids clubs, and you're running them around and stuff. Sometimes you don't always have as much time as you, but like baking, like bread with the boys, and sometimes my eldest son will pick a out and we'll make that together. So it's a bit a mixed bag as it is. But then on nights we're just having pesto pasta, because you've got tents and that's that.
No, well that's it, and it's sort of tossing out how much time you've got, or how much patience sometimes at the end of the day when you've just got hungry kids and you decide I just need to feed them, whereas other times you can kind of plan and get them involved. And I think one of our go-to is often fajita wraps, because they just like being able to put stuff together, and it sounds very similar with the sushi as well, that they can kind of make their own and put their own stamp on things, can't they, and have a bit of fun too. How can people find out a little bit more about you, Chris? Have you got your own website? You're obviously on social media. How can people follow you?
A website, actually, that's something that I should maybe do. But I'm on Twitter and Instagram, which is Chris.Bavin. Come on. I try and someone messages me on social media. I always try and reply. Obviously, that's not always possible, but for the most part, I pretty do. So follow me on Instagram. That's the best way. And drop me a hello.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, here is some time-saving hacks for you to try at home. I love to cook pasta and meatballs. They're one of my go-to recipes for feeding the kids in a hurry. I actually start the dish off at lunchtime, and then it's ready for when we get home at tea. I brown off the meatballs in a casserole dish on the hob, crumble in a stock cube, add some leeks and a big can of chopped tomatoes. And my time-saving hack is to actually add the dried pasta in at this stage into the sauce. Throw everything in and ensure the pasta is well mixed into the sauce. Put a lid on the casserole dish and place in a bottom oven, or if you're using a slow cooker, stick it all in the slow cooker for 4 or 5 hours. And then you can serve it straight away when you get in with a bit of grated cheese on top, always a winner, and some garlic bread as well. In season right now, February time, brassicas and root vegetables. I'm going to talk about the humble Brussels sprout. Now, Christmas may well be past us, but sprouts are not just for Christmas. Have you ever chopped a sprout up finely and pan fried with some chili and pancetta? So good. You can almost treat it like a mini Savoy cabbage in a stir fry, and they're so good for you, full of iron. Many supermarkets sell sprouts frozen, so you don't need to have half a bag looking in the bottom of the fridge. Just use what you need, and there'll be less food waste as well. I actually grow Brussels sprouts in my garden every year, and I'm never disappointed. They're super tasty and make a real difference to a stir fry. So what are you waiting for? Are you going to give sprouts another go? Chris, how does that sound? What are your thoughts on sprouts? Do you love them or hate them?
Love sprouts. One of my favourite vegetables, actually. I completely agree with you. I think just treat a mini cabbage, shred them, pan fry them. Even actually, I do like a sprout coleslaw, which is delicious. But you could just do anything you can with a cabbage. You can do with a little sprout. Obviously, it's slightly more time consuming in terms of shredding them up, but well worth it. And yeah, a pile of sort of pan fried or sautéed Brussels sprouts with maybe some chestnuts or some pancetta or bacon or whatever it might be. I think that's delicious.
Yeah, absolutely. So give sprouts another go. Okay, that's all we've got time for today. Don't forget to tune into the next episode of the Countryside Kitchen Meets on the 1st of each month. You can subscribe on all major podcast streaming platforms and get in touch. Would you like to be on a future episode? Want to chat to me about what you do and share some recipes too? Drop me a line at hello@millyfyfe.com. You can also follow my food blog, No Fuss Meals for Busy Parents, on Facebook, Instagram, and at www.nofussmealsforbusyparents.com for top tips, time-saving hacks, and recipe ideas. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris. I very much enjoyed learning about your journey into TV and what's coming up for you. It's been amazing. Thank you. And I hope to follow in your footsteps one day soon. So watch this space. Thank you.
Well, good luck and thank you very much.
Cheers. See you next time. Bye, everyone.